As of late, I have been a man on a mission to reduce the amount of clothing articles I have in my eBay and Poshmark stores. I currently have about 850 articles of men's clothing, such as shirts, jackets, shorts, all that good stuff. And I have been on a mission to get those down below 300 items because I am focusing on sell-through rate. Men's clothing on eBay and Poshmark historically have a relatively slower sell-through rate. So about 32 hours ago, I put my entire store category in eBay of men's clothing and accessories. Not accessories, I didn't do it for sunglasses, but all of my men's shirts and those articles of clothing I put on sale for 30% off. And I immediately got an additional 16 sales from the men's clothing category. I just did a similar thing on Poshmark where I put my entire 1,100 item Poshmark closet on sale for 20% off. That was only 90 minutes ago, and it has already generated an additional 6 sales just in those 90 minutes. If you were to do the same thing in your store, what would happen? Would you immediately start to see sales come in like I have, or would your items continue to sit? One of the major problems that a lot of stores have, a lot of people ask me dozens and dozens of times a day, I get the question, will you review my store for me? Will you critique my store for me? Will you roast my store for me? I get this question over and over and over and over again every single day, and I don't have a lot of time to do that. But when I do, I usually tell people, hey, if you price your items $3 to $5, you would immediately start selling a ton of them every day. The average person isn't willing to do that, unfortunately. Or I say, unfortunately, you do not have in-demand items. Even if you put your whole entire store for 50% off, I believe it would only increase your sales per day by 1 to 3. And a lot of these stores have 3,000 to 5,000 items in them. So if you were to put your entire store on 30 or 20% off and you weren't experiencing a ton of sales, there's a few things that are wrong. Number one, it's usually price. A lot of us get in-demand items or semi-in-demand items, and we price them at the top of the market or even above what the market is asking. That's not going to work. And a lot of times it's because we buy too high and we want a certain profit margin. So we buy a shirt for $8 that sells consistently for $17, and we decide that that's just not enough profit for our time, so we list it at $25, hoping that a sucker will eventually come around and buy it for $25. And it happens about once every 185 days. And so we just sit on these items for so long. Another issue that we have is we only buy items that are not in demand. We've heard that Tommy Bahama sells well on eBay, so we just pick up all the Tommy Bahama polos that we find without doing any research. And then we realize, oh, the embroidered silk shirts sell very well on eBay, but the regular polos don't seem to. But I have them, so I'm going to list them. And then they just sit in your shop for months and months and years and years. And even if you put them on a 30% sale, they just don't move because you're either priced way too high or you have an item that has way too small of a sell-through, way too slow of a sell-through rate. So a good indication that your eBay store sucks is if you put a massive discount throughout your entire store or a large group of items and you don't immediately start seeing sales within the next 3 or 4 hours, something's wrong. Usually price, usually sell-through rate. I encourage you guys to focus on items that have a fast sell-through rate. If an item has a 30 or 40% sell-through rate, leave it behind. There's a lot of items on eBay that have 30 or 40 sales in the last 90 days, but there are over 300 listed or 220 listed. Even though there is that sales data, I'm leaving that item behind because it's just going to sell very slow. It's going to frustrate me and make me think that something is wrong with my eBay store. It's going to lead me down the path of blaming eBay or blaming other people for not having consistent sales on eBay, when really I'm just putting items in my store that have a 200 to 400 day sell-through rate. It's just not a fast sell-through rate, and it's going to lead to a lot of hardship on eBay because my items aren't selling. It is much better, and I'm going to keep saying this over and over again, it is much better to grab 3 items that have between an 80 and 150 percent sell-through rate than it is to grab 15 items that have a 40% sell-through rate. If you do the math and you keep building your store and you keep building your store and you keep building your store, it eventually catches up, right? That's not really the way that percentages work. The higher the percentage, the higher the velocity, and that compounds on itself. So if you only list items in your store that have above a 100% sell-through rate, it's going to compound positively, and you're actually going to start selling your items even faster than that. If you only list 20 to 40% sell-through rate items in your store, it's actually going to compound negatively on each other, and your sales are actually going to drop because you're listing the same crap in your store. Now you're competing with yourself. You're only saturating your own category, and it's compounding in a negative way, and the result is close to zero sales. I have fallen victim to this myself. I have bought items that have a very slow sell-through rate just to hit my listing goal, just to inflate my store. I have a ton of Duluth trading shirts that I don't even think I can give away for 60% off. I had a few remotes. I just cleaned out a ton of remotes. I had a few remotes that had a 5 to 10% sell-through rate. Can you believe that? Man, geez Louise, what was I thinking? We all make mistakes. It's important to learn from your mistakes and adapt, and not just keep banging our heads against the wall and buying the 10% sell-through remotes, leaving those behind even though they're only 25 cents, and focusing on the other remotes that have a 200% sell-through rate, or even a 70 or 80% sell-through rate. Just focus on items that sell quickly, price them accordingly, and if your sales are slow, your items are already at market. Once you drop them 20 to 30%, you will immediately start to see sales, and then you can think to yourself, is this lower profit margin but increase in velocity worth it? Or would I like to slow down my sales velocity but increase my profit a little bit? That's for you and your business to decide. But if you drop your store 30% and it's still a ghost town, you have some major problems within your store. It's probably price, it's probably sell-through rate, could also be titles, return policies, shipping policies, and things of that nature. But all of that stuff doesn't even really matter if you just have in-demand items priced appropriately. If I listed, if I listed a 600% sell-through rate, sort of incorrectly, but I have the brand and the model, and I have one blurry photo, the chances of me selling that over a Barbra Streisand CD that is listed perfectly is significantly higher. I can make dozens of mistakes, but have an amazing item, and it will still sell before I do everything right on a extremely saturated Barbra Streisand CD. I hope this helps, guys. Improve your stores. You'll improve your cash flow. You'll improve your life. I promise.